With the final Eagles voluntary practice officially in the books, we actually got an update on Ty Robinson's progress, as the best defensive lineman on the Birds said the Vanilla Gorilla is already looking like a menace on the field. Plus, why Vic Fangio is planning on a superstar year for Nolan Smith, and Philadelphia just signed their fastest player yet. I'm Thomas Mott, this is the Thomas Mott Show. I think every year during Eagle OTAs, we're all just looking for that little hint. That little revelation about a player's injury status we didn't know about, or a fringe roster player about to break out, or really even an Eagles rookie who seems way ahead of schedule. Because the reality of OTAs is that it's really not training camp. The guys aren't hitting one another, they're not in pads, and just because you started at this position on day 3 of OTAs doesn't mean you 100% have a shot at winning that job. But I do think we got a lot more updates from day 4 of Eagle OTAs than I ever expected on all of the above. First though, how about a non-Eagles giveaway here that still relates to Philadelphia, as I have this, which is actually pretty awesome. I've been swinging this in my room the past couple of days. It is a signed Kyle Schwarber Louisville Slugger official MLB bat, which the guys over at Legends Memorabilia actually sent me to go ahead and give away to one of you, my subscribers, when we hit 97,000 subs here on the channel, which is going to be hopefully next week. So drop a like and a comment down below to enter, and be sure to hit that red subscribe button. And if you like this bat, then you got to check out Legends Memorabilia's website, because they have a ton of other great exclusive pieces that also support the MLB Players Alumni Association. Now, of course, only one of you can actually win the bat, but if you want to pick up a piece like this on your own, go to the link down below in my description box, check out shoplegends.com, use my promo code MOTT20 and get 20% off any purchase you have. Now, of course, with Bryce Huff officially shipped off to San Francisco and Brandon Graham now retired, Philadelphia had one final roster spot open to complete their pre-camp 90-person squad. And the Birds have now filled that spot with Sam Houston State's lightning-fast wide receiver, Ife Adeyi, whose 40-yard dash of 4.35 at the Sam Houston Pro Day is the same official speed as Quez Watkins was during his lightning 40 back at the Combine. In fact, compared to the entire 2025 NFL Combine wide receiver class, Adeye would have ranked top 5 in every single drill versus his pro day had he actually received an invite to Indy. And it's also important to point out that his RAS, or relative athletic score that the Birds love so much, was a 9.58. And he finished his collegiate career with 164 catches for 2,300 yards and 19 touchdowns. And to top it all off, he was an Eagles rookie camp invite a couple of weeks ago, which they clearly loved him enough to bring him back, so yeah, that's the story. Now, of course, here's the real question. Will he make the roster? And he definitely has a long shot to do so. But Philly has shown they love the idea of a small, speedy receiver to compete for that wide receiver 5 spot. Last year, for instance, they brought back the veteran John Ross, and they seemingly really liked him early on in camp, but he did very little in preseason games and eventually got axed. And that really is Adeye's main problem here, is that Philadelphia last year kept 5 wide receivers on the active roster, and 4 of those are already accounted for. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson, and Johnny Wilson. So it's a bunch of guys competing for wide receiver 5. If he goes ahead and flourishes, he can win that spot easily. I think he could be a practice squad guy who could get elevated if injuries happen, but long shot, although I love what he potentially could bring come training camp. Now, the first teeny tiny hint that Vic Fangio dropped just yesterday was around the battle at safety, which many people now see as Cooper DeJean, maybe in base defense packages, versus, I argue, the incumbent Cindy Brown, and of course, rookie Drew Makuba. But if you listen carefully to Fangio talking about this position, he clearly wanted everyone to understand that yes, all those players are in the mix, but there's another player we're not talking about in play.
It's a competition that, it's going to take a training camp, a few preseason games to sort out. And Tristan's in that too.
The name Tristan McCollum has been whispered a lot around Philadelphia basically the past 2 seasons. He's been way down on the depth chart, but has flashed during preseason last year and was the starting safety for the Birds' Week 18 backup matchup against the New York Giants. Is he going to win the starting safety job? No guarantee, but normally it would be just Drew Makuba versus Sidney Brown. It does sound like he has a legit shot to where, if he were to dominate in training camp, he could be the number 1 guy. Long way to go. Obviously, drafting a rookie safety makes it a little bit harder, but Fangio mentioned his name for a reason, so we're keeping an eye on him during mandatory minicamp next week and training camp as well. Next, how about an update finally on the Vanilla Gorilla, Ty Robinson, who very much has stayed out of the spotlight during all 4 of the Eagles' OTA practices because the coaches have not been asked about him at all by the media, and yet this mid-round athletic freak of a defensive lineman out of Nebraska has probably been the one player that fans are most interested in to hear if he can contribute in some sort of way in 2025. And well, yesterday, as mentioned, we finally got somebody raving about him, and that someone was no other than Jalen Carter himself.
Boy, fire. I ain't gonna lie, he moving good. He a big boy. I seen his highlights before he came, knew what they was talking about, and, he here and he working, and I think he gonna have a big impact this season.
If Jalen Carter, maybe the best defensive tackle heading into 2025, is hyping you up at this point during OTAs, I take that as a great sign. I know the pads haven't been on for Robinson. We need to see him in pads to truly know for sure. But if this kid can give us anything during his rookie season, that is going to be a massive plus for Fangio's defense. Milton Williams, of course, is gone, and I do think Jomo is going to take most of his snaps. But the Birds not only have a dominant year 3 guy in Jomo, obviously Jordan Davis as well, and now a freak of nature from the Vanilla Gorilla, I truly don't understand how the defensive line is going to be stopped by anybody in 2025. And that's just the interior defensive line. Now we move out to the pass rushers as well, and Nolan Smith, of course, who told myself and Josh Davis last week, he's preparing for a breakout 2025 campaign, but then doubled down during his press conference on Wednesday, explaining that Vic Fangio has now tasked him with taking over as the premier edge rusher on the Philadelphia Eagles and wants him to become the Von Miller of the Birds' new defense.
I mean, that's something I embrace, but also I take a huge honor with that because I don't think Coach Vic knows, but man, he coached some of my favorite guys in the world. And I just know, like, watching Von Miller and his defense made me want to be the person that I am today and just relentless. Like, who is that guy? Like, what does he do during the offseason? Why is he always at the ball? Why is he doing this and doing that? And I say just Coach Fangio, Coach Vic, watching him and how he molded those guys is nothing for me to listen to him. Like, to be coachable, are you crazy? Like, he coached guys that played surpass in the league, Super Bowl MVPs, and he'll never talk about none of that, but it's just like you feel it.
The vibes I'm getting from this Birds defense the past couple of days is truly that they are not satisfied. And it's crazy because they are getting a ring a couple of days from now. Like, they're going to have the Eagles ring ceremony this summer. They're all Super Bowl champions. And yet right now, even at their young age, they're trying to become not just better than they were in 2025, but they want to be the best defense in the entire NFL. And everything we're hearing out of Vic Fangio's group sounds pretty darn good right now, and I'm super excited. I mean, take Jordan Davis, for instance, right? Vic Fangio said he's in the best shape of his life, which is really hard to tell for sure if that's the case. But when you actually compare his facial profile, for instance, to where he was then to where he is now, he's 100% slimmed down. And I saw him in person, he looks way slimmer. And funny enough, he actually credits Peloton with his surge in fitness that might be able to take him to the next level come September.
It's just all about going out there, getting a little movement, get a little extra work. Fell in love with Peloton later half in the season. Just putting in a little sweat equity, the little extra things. And when I did that and I was consistent with it, the trajectory for how I was playing definitely took off. I felt like my face was getting a little fat and, I wanted to look good. But then again, knowing that the team is relying on me, knowing that the team has a lot of trust in me and they expect me to be there in the big moments.
I'm starting to wonder if all this motivation on the Eagle defensive line, linebacker group, and secondary all stems around the fact that 2 Eagle rookie DBs last year vaulted onto the NFL stage and became overnight sensations. Everyone's looked at those two and probably said to themselves, why can't my ceiling be as high as theirs? We have Vic Fangio as our DC for Pete's sake. Why not go ahead and do everything we can to be better than the 2024 squad and turn the 2025 Eagles into the best they've ever been? And Fangio echoed that during his press conference, saying, yes, there's been a lot of turnover like there was in 2024, and he thinks he can work with that in a big way.
I look at this year very similar to last year in that at this time last year, we had a lot of turnover in personnel from the previous year. You had Bond. Nobody knew what he was at this point last year. You had Nakobe, who hadn't played any meaningful NFL football in his first 2 years. We had a lot of, question marks at that time, or you didn't know, this year those names are replaced. And I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I look at it as really basically the same one year to the next. The names have changed. Hopefully we'll get the same results from these new guys that we got from a lot of the new guys last year.
And that does naturally lead very well into the last big battle of OTAs, as Keely Ringo and Adeye Jackson are seemingly the leaders in the clubhouse right now for that number 2 outside cornerback spot, with both getting reps at different times as the starters with the past 2 weeks in 7-on-7s and 11-on-11s. Although personally, it does kind of sound like Ringo has a little bit of a leg up due to what even Adeye Jackson called Keely's freak of nature build, and what Vic noted was a ton of talent only limited by the reps he's had at the position.
He is a freak of nature, just his tangibles, being that tall, being able to have speed, his movement. I just really learned that he's from the West Coast this whole time. I thought he was actually a Georgia boy. So that's one of the coolest things, and he's my locker mate. So to be able to talk to him, he's a funny dude. Good people.
He just needs reps. He needs to learn to play the game. And that comes with reps. And, you know, to quote Nick said in a meeting recently, repetition is the burden of leadership. It's up to us to get him enough reps in practice, expose him to all the things he needs to be exposed to so he can play a full NFL game. When I say full, not physically, conditioning-wise, but be a competent corner throughout a full game and a full season.
Ringo's whole problem coming out of UGA was that he was too young and his talent was just too raw. He had the height, the speed, the strength, everything you'd want in an elite number one cornerback. He just had to learn the game. Sounds like he's been extra focused on doing that this time around.
The list goes on. I feel like I always have the mindset of always just trying to find another way to get better overall, man. I wouldn't say anything specific. I would just say everything as a whole, man. Just continue to get 1% better at every single thing, whether it's technique, understanding the scheme, understanding the offensive scheme. I feel like one of the main things that Nick Sirianni said is that understanding what the offense is trying to do to you and vice versa can definitely help you play at a much higher and faster level. So that's one of the main things I've been focused on right now.
My money, of course, is on Kelee Ringo. I think Vic Fangio's money is on Kelee Ringo, but it's going to take a very long training camp time to go ahead and figure things out because it's going to be an open battle until probably a couple of preseason games in. Now, staying with the secondary, but a player no longer in Philadelphia, I can't believe we're doing this again, but I have to bring it up because CJ Gardner-Johnson is back in the Eagles news cycle for, yet again, the wrong reasons, as Vic Fangio's press conference comment of,
that was a salary cap type thing, and how he made that decision, I was fine with it.
Seemed to rub the Bird safety the wrong way after he posted this to his IG on Wednesday with an emphasis on the quote, "I had zero issues, people had issues with me." Which, of course, most of you guys know by now, myself and Josh Davis were told in confidence one of the main reasons why they traded Gardner-Johnson. It wasn't all because of cap and was told not to tell, and so we're doing this cycle all over again. It's just crazy that Gardner-Johnson cannot let this stuff go. I mean, anyone can truly read between the lines and understand the gist. Gardner-Johnson literally just told you people had issues with me, and the truth is they did. Enough to believe that he wasn't worth the headache or the $9 million the Texans are now paying him to be their safety this year. And in all fairness, I actually DM'd with Gardner-Johnson on Twitter yesterday, and while I'm not going to share private conversations, he basically reiterated what he's been saying all along. He was blindsided by the trade and felt like he did nothing wrong. And I believe Gardner-Johnson believes this. I think he was blindsided by the trade. I think he does believe he did nothing wrong. We just know that Philadelphia did believe he did do some things wrong, and so it's a he said, she said sort of thing. But I'm not necessarily going to sit here and just blame Gardner-Johnson. I just think it was as simple as Philadelphia was like, you know what? We can replace him. I don't think it's a big deal. Let's get what we can for him now instead of trying another season. Honestly, the whole thing is not that big of a deal. He actually got sent off to a good team. He's now in Houston, and Philly has 5 guys right now vying to replace him. My money is they're going to be just fine without number 8 going forward, and number 8 will be successful yet again in Houston. In the end, I honestly like and respect Gardner-Johnson. I believe he was a massive part of the Eagles' Super Bowl championship last season. I think he will continue to be great. He just has to find a place where they can not only handle his style, but help him flourish as well. Now, of course, plenty more stuff happening the next couple of days and weeks, including, once we hit 97,000 subs, giving away the signed Kyle Schwarber baseball bats. Make sure you guys go ahead and sub, and let me know if this would be a nice piece to include in your collection. I'm sure there's some Philly fans out there. Not everyone who watches my show is a Phillies fan, but a lot of you guys are, hence the baseball bat. Again, shoplegends.com to go ahead and check out the rest of their stuff. I'm Thomas Mott, hanging out here on what's been a pretty dramatic week. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.